All right. How's everybody doing today? A few technical difficulties, we shall say, getting both screens going. So, we've got YouTube over here and Facebook over here. And we'll see who shows up to catch the live stream here. So, stuff around. All right, how's everybody doing? Wanted to jump on today and just have a freewheeling discussion with you guys. It's certainly a very eventful week in the life of agriculture. I'm sure your farm's been going through some pretty crazy stuff. Um, if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up from Facebook or YouTube if you're there. And let's jump right in. I'll tell you a little bit about what's been happening with us on the farm in light of the crisis and what I'm hearing from other producers. A lot of concern that people have out there. Hey guys over on YouTube, good to see you. Um, it has been an insane week for us here. As the panic, I don't think anyone really saw coming, kind of grabbed the nation, and suddenly there was a mass panic run of toilet paper for some reason. That's what everyone wanted, and that started to trickle into farms pretty quickly as quarantines were set in place and so on. And I'm not here to really talk about the virus as much or the political response to it, because that really doesn't matter. That's not something we can control with our farms. We can really only control how we react to these things. And immediately some things started happening for us and other farms, namely being that restaurant sales pretty much went away overnight. And fortunately for us, restaurants are a single digit percent of the sales that we do, so it has not been that big of an impact. But I know some other guys who, their farms are very heavily marketed to restaurants, and that went sideways really fast for them. Now, what I don't think any of us saw coming was the extreme uptick in shipping orders. And I'm seeing this across the board for everyone I've talked to. Talking with the guys over at Gray's Cart and Seven Sons Farm, their orders have gone through the roof. A lot of other farms that I know have gone through the roof. Our sales have gone up about 600% for shipping orders, and we had one of the biggest days that we've had in a long time in here in the farm store yesterday. It felt like Thanksgiving on steroids. The amount of people that were coming through, the orders that have been pouring in for delivery, and then wholesale accounts for things like CSAs, farm stands, home delivery type services. Those have gone way up. So what has turned to be a disaster for a lot of farms who sell to restaurants are seeing a big backfill come in of people looking for shipping, on-farm pickup, and these home delivery services slash CSA type things. Those have gone way up as this panic run of the stores happened. And we probably all know the data. If we're in this space, we're kind of around food and generally being a little bit more aware. I think when you're on a farm, your average American household only has like 3 to 5 days worth of supplies, and of course everyone panicked and stampeded down and bought out toilet paper and all that, and it was kind of ridiculous here as well. But it completely emptied the shelves of food, and we're even seeing that in stores here where especially meats are gone, canned goods are gone. And so it's creating, to me, it's like, where did the supply chain go? It still has to be there. So this has to be something to do with a delivery hiccup as this kind of spot demand moves through the supply chain. But I would expect that they are going to restock fairly quickly unless there continues to be disruptions to transportation. The inventory is sitting out there in warehouses. It's about um, getting it to the stores at this point. I think as recently as 6 months ago was maybe the last time I looked at it. There were several billion pounds of cheese in inventory in the United States. There's a lot of meat out there. So here's kind of my take on it, my opinion from just watching this stuff. Um, Here we go. Let me click this over here. Is what we're seeing is a couple fold or a couple elements to this. One, people are realizing, oh crap, it might be a good idea for me to have some food and some supplies on hand. They're going out and buying this stuff, and it's causing a temporary massive spike in demand. But what's going to happen if, say, the crisis doesn't turn out to be as bad as people thought it was going to be, or their credit card bills come due and they want to start returning stuff? We're already starting to see things being returned to Costco's, where people are bringing back the pickup truckload of tissue paper and toilet paper that they got, and Costco's are now saying, no, we're not taking back anything, take it away, no returns. So will there be a backside to this wave of demand where this spike in demand suddenly just vaporizes and no one is looking to buy anything? That's kind of what I'm worried about. If we get into a true economic crisis for your average Joe, which it seems to be headed that way with layoffs and furloughs and all that, people are going to run out of money to buy stuff, and it's going to hit pretty hard. They're going to start eating through all the food they just panic bought, and it could cause sales to severely cut back compared to what you've probably seen in the last 2 weeks. So I think the approach we need to have as direct to retail farms is having an extreme level of flexibility in our posture right now, but being careful not to take the last 2 weeks and say, hey, this is the new normal. This will be the new demand moving forward. That's not necessarily the case. As fast as this spike in demand hit all of us, it could go away just as fast. It could possibly drop even below what demand was previously. I don't know what us can do is be ready for whatever happens. Increased demand, drop in demand, stabilizing level of demand for the farm products that you're producing and bringing to your market. Now, what are things that you can do right now to solidify your newfound sales and these newfound customers? I think there's some things that could be done there. One, people are going to be looking for minimally handled product for the duration of this health crisis. Someone's not going to be too enthusiastic about handling product that has been through a store, and you may have seen some of these videos of these stupid kids like running around sneezing on stuff in Walmarts, thinking it's really cool to run around coughing and pretending, oh, we've got coronavirus and we're giving it to everyone. People are going to look for a product that is minimally handled, meaning there's only a few people that are handling the product from either harvest or the freezer to their delivery. So I think a couple points that would be valuable for your farm if you are marketing into this crisis is emphasizing the cleanliness of your supply chain. That, hey, we are a one-stop farm. It's coming from the field to the processor, back to us, to you. This is minimally handled. There's not a lot of exposure. Read something yesterday how cardboard is not a good vector for the virus to, or not a good media for the virus to transmit on. And so we're already seeing some stores switching over from having no plastics in their bags and distribution materials and going just to boxes or to paper bags. Something that we did, just click a button over here. All right, a couple people on YouTube. Good to see you guys here. Facebook. So back to a couple things that we stopped doing 2 weeks ago, which I would strongly encourage you to do on this topic of just cleanliness and biosecurity. In this is to stop taking recycled stuff from your customers. So egg cartons, boxes, grocery bags, those things that we used to take from customers to recycle. It's not worth doing that right now. Try to keep the materials that you are delivering your product to your customers in as minimally touched as possible and new if you can. The second thing, so the first one is emphasizing to your customers the cleanliness of your supply chain, of how you're handling the product, and make sure you are actually doing that. That you are holding yourself to those standards. If people on your team are potentially getting ill, you don't want them on the front line handling your product for sure, especially if you are in produce or baked type of goods. The second thing is more of what we're doing at the operation level of the farm is just maintaining a posture of readiness. So don't burn down the feed supply to the last day and then try to get more from whatever your supplier is, if it's Tractor Supply or a bulk supplier. Go ahead and start keeping yourself a couple weeks out on the key supplies you need for your operation. If that's feed or other things, keep enough on hand that you will last through what is probably going to be, should the virus continue to spread, and more importantly, should the quarantine efforts continue to spread, and the lockdown efforts, and shelter in place and those type of things. It's going to be a transportation disruption. So there is stuff in inventory, there's feed out there, there's grains, there's everything we need to do to keep doing what we've been doing, but there's going to be likely delays in getting the stuff to you. So keep a rolling stock a couple weeks out of those critical things that you need for your operation to exist. So two things, addressing it from the marketing side and your customers. Meeting if you need to. Some farms are transitioning very rapidly to a drop ship model. Like I said early on here in the live stream, our sales are up 600% for shipping orders, and so we're already seeing an adjustment in some of our customer base to that, and a whole lot of new customers coming in that we've never seen before. Home delivery, having a method available to your customers that will meet whatever their comfort level is. Because again, we are dealing with a crisis situation and people are going to respond differently. And I don't think it's our job to be telling our customers you're overreacting or you are underreacting. Have a delivery method available that will meet their level of concern and their level of precaution that they are taking, because that is their choice. So if they want drop shipping, we have that available. If they want home delivery and they're willing to, they're going to pay for it, we'll drop the box on their porch and leave, and they can come out and pick it up. Or if they want to meet us at a regularly scheduled drop, we're spreading that out a little bit where people are not congregating together around where the product is. Maybe move the table a little bit away from the van where people pick up stuff. You might want to consider limiting the currency that you transact in, or just keeping things like checks and cash somewhere that you can potentially disinfect it, or you're wearing gloves while you're handling that thing, those things. So use this use this time to be that farmer or that business that meets the needs of your customers with reassurance and comfort. And we don't necessarily need to go out telling them what to do, or that they're ridiculous because they show up in a hazmat suit and are in MOP 4 biohazard gear. Hey, that's if that's what they want to do and that's what's going to make them feel comfortable, that's fine, because what we as a nation are trying to prevent is panic in these types of unknown situations is what causes most of the chaos. Farmer Brad, I'm glad I got the chicken plucker in prep to process chicken on the farm. Yeah, so we'll talk some more about production stuff here in a second. But meet the needs of your customers, reassure them of the quality of your product, the integrity of your brand, and the steps that you are taking to ensure you are delivering a quality, healthy, and to the best of your knowledge, decontaminated or uncontaminated product. On the production side, taking the steps to build in redundancy in your systems, having a couple week rolling supply of those things that you will need for your farm. But then also start thinking through what are you going to do on an operation side should you fall ill or someone in your family or your employees. From the data I'm seeing, 20% of known cases, of tested cases, are requiring hospitalization to some extent or another. It seems there's some commonalities that are leading to the more dangerous level cases, things such as high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, and obesity, and also more of an older population. So for a lot of us that are younger, the issue isn't so much that this is something that could be lethal to us, but it certainly could be something that's going to knock you out of action for a while. So start thinking through, especially as an owner or a manager of a farm operation, what are you going to do if you fall ill or someone else in the operation falls ill? Do you have redundancy on your team to cover the continued production while you're out of action? This really all should be stuff that we've thought about before, but honestly, it's not something that has been as front burner for all of us as it is right now. So just some of the things I've been thinking through and we've been going through in the farm, but I definitely want to throw it open to what you guys are thinking and just any other types of questions you have about agriculture or what we're doing here. For those of you who don't know me, or maybe this is the first time you are seeing me do a live stream, my wife and I have a pastured-based livestock farm here in Virginia. We produce grass-fed beef, forest-raised pork, pastured poultry. We have a big farrowing operation and sell a lot of piglets to other farms. Started the farm builder movement a couple of years ago to kind of bring the information and knowledge that we've gained here on our farm on doing pastured-based livestock production systems at scale, supporting full-time incomes. And what we're doing is sharing these models with whoever is interested and whoever has questions, because our goal is to see you guys be successful on your farm at whatever level you want to go. Hopefully that's enterprise level, and you're trying to be the next White Oak pasture size farm or Polyface size farm, and going to feed a lot of people. And that's going to be especially critical, I think, for the next year, as folks are looking for locally produced. They're wanting to connect straight to the farmer. You don't like to well, I guess it is good to look at the positive of any crisis, but you don't want to gloat about it or be glad that a calamity brings these things about. But this is one of the biggest, I would say, attention grabbing things that could have happened for the cause of local, safely sourced food, where people are looking to get food directly from farmers, whether that's produce or meats or baked goods. They're looking for a secure place that's close and businesses that they can support. A couple cool things. One of our distributors that we work with in Northern Virginia, schools here in Virginia have closed through the middle of April. I'm fully expecting they will cancel for the rest of the school year. So we've joked that that's what we get for sending our kids to private school for the first time. We've homeschooled up to this point. We send them to private school this year to free up more of Laura's time for marketing. And this breaks out, and half the school year is going to probably end up getting canceled. So that's what we get for that. But a lot of kids are out of school, not getting their lunches and so on. So this distributor we work with, they raised about $10 million in a week to feed school kids and homebound people in Northern Virginia. And they are looking to buy a lot of that from local farms. So they're already working with us and other suppliers to get the product that they need for it. But I think what's cool is seeing, at least here, and what we are experiencing, is community pulling together in this crisis event, and folks relying on each other, checking on neighbors. Hey, are you good? Are you good? Do you need anything? Had one of our landowners call me up and say, hey, are you guys doing well? If we need to, we'll stop the land lease payments for a while, just to get you through the crisis. So people are looking out for each other, and I think that's pretty awesome. This is a very good, I guess, indicator that communities are pulling together and will do what it takes to get each other through this type of thing. So what kind of questions you guys got? Would love to talk about maybe something else other than coronavirus. This topic has been banned from our house, which is why I am out here in the farm store doing it from here. So, all right, so we got some chats over here. Farmer Brad saying our local schools are giving anyone free breakfast and lunch. Yeah, same here. You have to go get them, which is a problem for some families because mom and dad are still working. Y'all said it, my first social distancing chicken delivery, gloved up and left the cooler on the sidewalk. Customers remove the chicken and goes inside. Yeah, you could do that. You also could, if you have boxes, put a box in the cooler and they can just grab the box and go. So that way they're not handling all over the cooler, but whatever they're comfortable with. And if you've got the bleach spray there in your stash of Lysol, you can spray that puppy down. So how do you deal with the increased demand that's probably hitting your farm and scale up? Did a video last week. Was it only a week ago that this really hit? But talking about the steps you should take for preparedness, and part of that being having a level of caution on infrastructure projects and things you don't necessarily need to keep that you don't need to keep the operation going. But all of a sudden what's hitting us is this huge demand, and what do we need to meet the demand is more infrastructure and more animals or product or feed to do so. So this is a decision all of us will have to make as managers and owners is, are we going to lean into this type of crisis, or are we going to lean out of it? And what that breaks down to, if we're leaning in, is taking steps to meet the demand from your customers. Look at increasing production. What are ways that can be done efficiently? Are there other ways that you can capitalize these projects so you can keep a cash reserve on hand? Or are we going to lean out and just back away from the crisis slowly, and once stuff is sold out, hey, that's it till next fall, or whenever your next production cycle rolls around, and not looking to necessarily increase? Both methods, I think, are perfectly fine, but the key element for you to make the key decisions that you need to make right now is, what are you going to do? Are you going to lean into this increased demand, or are you going to lean out and have a little bit more of a cautious approach to it? I can see pluses and minuses to both ways. Of course, my kind of default is to lean into stuff, the whole default aggressive mindset. And so we're certainly leaning into the increase in demand. We usually have enough chickens in the freezer, say, to get us through June. They're going to be gone within a month, so we're going to have a shortage. So we've already increased the number of birds that we're bringing in the spring. We're in progress right now of outfitting our second sea container as a brooding facility, and so we're going to start producing more stuff as soon as we can. To help mitigate that, though, especially with something like chicken, say demand drops wins later in the season and hold these ones longer through the year. All right, Rachel had a question. Do you think the boom of buying direct from farmers will last or fade away as the virus goes away and stores can stay well stocked again? Yeah, Rachel, if you go back and watch from the beginning of the video through, did a little bit more of an in-depth perusal, I guess, of this topic. The answer would be, who knows? Farmers markets have been shut down pretty much everywhere, as far as I know. Maybe there are some states that are keeping them open as critical infrastructure, but I know here in Virginia, they're done. They've shut them all down, and so that has gone away. Direct to delivery type stuff is way through the roof, whether it's shipping, home delivery, drop sites. Those are all very strong for us right now. Wholesales to farm stands and home delivery services are very strong. Wholesales to restaurants has pretty much evaporated and gone away. And so, will the boom last is really going to depend, in my opinion, on how long the economic crisis lasts. Because if jobs have evaporated for a long period of time, we could see a reoccurrence of what most of us probably experienced, or most of you experienced in the 08, 07, 08, 09 years when the last financial crisis happened. That's right when we were starting our farm, so we didn't see a big drop off in sales because we were just getting started. So we kind of started in the bad time and grew up as it got better. Be ready. My 2 cents on it would be ready for both scenarios. Be ready to cautiously increase production to meet the demand should it continue to grow, but also have a strategy in place to reel it back in really fast should demand drop off, and have the capacity maybe to hold that stuff in inventory. If you're doing meats, that's a lot easier than produce because you can just put it in the freezer, but have the ability to expand and contract very quickly. That's one lesson that was crystal clear to me over the last week, was how fast this environment has changed and is changing every day. Almost overnight, it went from business as normal to no restaurants, shipping orders, boom, through the roof. And we had less than 24 hours to pivot that order fulfillment and distribution model to meet what the market instantly imposed upon us. And fortunately, we were able to do so, and we're fine. But if you are going to expand into this and lean into increasing your production, do have a plan that this spike in demand could go away just as fast as it came. Who knows? It's going to depend on a lot of factors outside of our control. All we can do is try to have as flexible a posture as we can, to have as many options continually pushing in front of us to either meet demand or contract, and just be ready to make a decision. Levi, if you're leaning into this, then what strategies are you looking to implement to keep sales strong through the aftermath? Okay, so once you have these new customers, that's one of the most expensive things to do is customer acquisition. You should have, or you need to develop, a messaging system for these new people where you are sharing the message of your farm, the quality of your product, your customer service is on point, your orders are delivered in a timely fashion, all these other things that make you better than Costco or Walmart or whoever your competitor is. That is what you need to be emphasizing right now. Talked a little bit earlier about emphasizing the low touch that your product will have. It's not passing through a bunch of different hands on its way to you. On the food quality of it, availability is going to be a big deal. Are you going to have the stuff available? That's probably what brought a lot of these new rush of orders in, was someone didn't want to go to Costco. They saw the TikTok videos of people panicking over the toilet paper and like, I don't want anything to do with that. And so they just went online and ordered from you. So you have their interest. They have gotten your product. Now it's your job as a marketer to retain that customer, and maybe you will for some, maybe you won't for others. So messaging, branding, your story, all the things that are business as normal type of things that you should be doing for your customers, continue to do those. And should they want to continue to buy, should this crisis continue, I think we will, especially if there are large lockdown and quarantine areas, as long as there's not distribution disruption, all it would take is FedEx and UPS to shut down or have severe limitations on what they can do, and that method is dead to us. So you might have to look at home delivery. If you're close to the major city that you market to, you might need to hire a neighbor who's not ill and has a minivan and say, hey, you looking for a delivery job? Be my Amazon delivery guy for the short term to keep your product going. So take the steps that your customers are requesting of you, that the market is asking. If you can meet that request, then you'll be able to move your product. All right, check over here on the YouTubes. What do we got for chats? Oh my goodness, a super chat. First super chat. Turkey Hollow Farm, thank you for always sharing your wisdom to us. God bless you, your family, and your business. Well, thank you very much, especially for the donation. That is awesome. Yeah, I mean, to me, there are lessons we've learned over the last 10 years doing this, and before that, that this is just my opinion, but this is my observation and what the steps we're taking as a farm. And if you guys can get something from it, of you as we can, and we can ride this thing out together. Let's see if we got any more. I would have to hatch a dual-purpose bird on farm. Yeah, so that's a bigger issue there, Brad. Is hatchery shortages are already happening. I called up our hatchery for the first day we're getting them in April, and they were already almost sold out. So if you are looking to increase your chicken production and working with a hatchery, you should probably get on the phone with them this week and get your orders in, because not only do they have the 1 month lag time on hatching out, but everyone else is doing it. So if doing more birds is in your agenda, then you probably need to get on the hatchery right away. All right, I know we got some more here. Let's see. All right. Oh, awesome, JV. Well, that is a fantastic super chat there. Really appreciate it. All right, vet to vet fist pump. Right back at you, brother. Come on out to the farm sometime. Love to meet you. All right. Levi here. What signs are you looking for that tell you to stop leaning in? Certainly, keeping your finger on the pulse of your sales will tell you when to anticipate that throttle back. Now, do know what's going on every day. If you are selling at a scale where orders are coming in every day, you're shipping out 2-3 times a week, you've got deliveries going, on the larger scale, you'll get an indication pretty quick when orders start throttling back. I would not take any one day as an indicator, though, of a trend. Because I got a text from one of the guys over at Seven Sons the other day, and he's like, "Hey man, were your orders way down today?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, they were for us." And the next day it was back up to this spike. So for some reason there was, I think it was on Thursday, there's a ton of orders on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday kind of slacked off, and then Friday went right back up, and Saturday, and it stayed pretty strong. But what I would take as indicators that the spike might be getting ready to slack off is certainly if these quarantines are lifted, if the government says all is well, return to normal. That could indicate that business will return to normal. My bigger concern, though, is what's going to happen. So here is my here is the thought rolling around in my head on what would probably have the most detrimental impact to the spike in sales that a lot of us are seeing. Is okay, everyone went out and panic shopped, honestly. Preparedness shopped, but some of it was panicking. If you were rolling away from Costco with a pickup truckload of toilet paper, you were panic shopping, and you're a monster and you should take it back. But what's going to happen if, looking at the data and the numbers that people are talking about, what's going to happen if there's 20% unemployment, the Fed has pumped $4 trillion in the market already, they are pumping another $1 trillion a day for the next 2 weeks. Say there's 20% unemployment, no one has any money, the average American doesn't have much savings, and then those credit cards come due. If there has not been government action on suspending credit card payments, who knows? The gloves are off in this situation. When these folks run out of money, then what is going to happen? So there's the initial crisis, there's a panic response, and then there's reality that sets in after that. When the bills come due, people have to start actually paying for the things they went out and bought. That's when I think we could see a decline in this surge of sales. Now, the fortunate thing about food is that is the last thing people will stop spending on, because you have to eat. They'll stop, mortgage, maybe a cell phone bill would come before food, because I don't see too many people wanting to go without their internet when they're locked up at home. But you get the idea. Food is a relatively insulated commodity in a crisis situation compared to movie theater tickets or golf packages. that kind of stuff. So that's what I would take as an indicator that there might be a slowdown, is if the crisis continues for a longer period of time, you might see a lot of belt tightening going on. And couple that with the industry, for lack of a better term, will have dealt with the supply chain issue at this point. They will have worked that blip through and be restocked. So you might see people having to buy the cheapest option available to them, which is not going to be your higher priced products. So just be ready. Have that flexible posture where you can expand up or you can contract back, whatever the market is going to tell you to do. The key thing is right now, things are turning very quickly. Demand can spike in a day and it can drop in a day, and the best thing you can do is hang on. For what we're doing, just not to, I guess, toot our own horn in this, but what worked out to our advantage in the last week was our kind of policy has been, ever since we started, that we wanted to hold a very heavy inventory of product. So at any given time, we have maybe 30,000 pounds of meat in inventory, either here on farm or in our cold storage facility. And so that gave us the ability to meet the demand that we've had for the last 2 weeks, and probably will have for the next 2 to 10 weeks, more than likely, that we can take that fat inventory that we've always kept, and that is rapidly shrinking down. And we're converting, you're converting that frozen inventory back to cash and capital that we're putting back in to grow more. So we have a little bit of a buffer zone to take what the market's telling us. Should sales decline, we see businesses kind of returning to normal levels, we can swallow that inventory that's coming back in to repopulate the inventory cushion that we are burning through at an extreme pace right now. So I'm not too worried for us in particular, but I know, certainly for a lot of smaller operations or guys who are just getting started, you don't have that inventory to lean back on. You don't have the money to put that stuff in inventory, and you've got to keep it pretty tight from a cash flow perspective. So if you have to err on the side of caution. Talk to a bigger farm that is producing stuff and see if they would affiliate with you to backfill your shortages. I know there's some big farms out there that are doing this right now because their normal sales channels of restaurants have totally dried up and gone away, and so they're helping smaller farms or more front-facing, distribution-oriented enterprises backfill their needs and build these relationships between each other and different producers to help meet the demand where it is. All right, take a drink here. 38 minutes of talking. Angela, can't decide if I want to break down whole hogs for restaurants for retail, or if by the time it's broken down, this wave will be over. So torn. Angela, are you seeing your restaurant sales disappear? Try to keep it as tight as you can. Don't butcher the pigs unless you know you've got a sale for them. I know it costs a little bit to keep the pig going, but if it's a finished hog, it's only a couple bucks in feed a day, and just hold them for a month, see what happens. But yeah, you don't want to take all of your pigs and throw them into retail cuts, and all of a sudden that disappears and the restaurants reopen and they want their pigs and you don't have any. So try to keep as many options in front of you. That's kind of a mantra of mine, is keep options rolling. And so work with your processor, work with your customers, try to only kill and cut stuff that already has a name on it, and you should be okay. All right, look over here. Okay. All right. Couple questions here on the YouTube. How would you go about moving a bunch of pork trim? I would probably look to convert it to sausage at this point, and there is a strong demand for sausage. So talk to your processor and see if they can take it back and convert it into sausage for you, and that'll fly out the door. Inventory advice video was the turning point in the operation. Make sure you have it when the customer comes to buy it. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is the windfall that we've been waiting 10 years for. Our philosophy from very early on was, hey, we want to have a fat inventory, a heavy inventory, so that when customers can't find a product from another farm or another store, they will come to us, and that is how we will acquire a new customer, and then it's our job to hang on to them. And couldn't have seen this coming, but this crisis turned out to be an economic boom for us and other farms who have a lot in inventory. It's moved out really fast. Let's see here. I can see commodity farms losing subsidies after all this. There just won't be enough money left after all of this. Is money even real right now? The monopoly money is being printed. I'm surprised they have enough printing presses to print it as fast as it's happening right now. I'm not a political pundit or certainly an economics guy, but it seems to me that the solution the federal government is taking right now is to throw as much money at this as possible. And you all, I'm sure, have watched plenty of videos in your spare time now on what that means, and who knows? Who knows? Be ready for anything. All right. Any more chats here? Hey, my buddy David Moore is here in the house. So, last thing I was going to cover here, and then I got to run and do some chores, is had an Instagram post yesterday talking about, you've probably heard me talk about Jocko and extreme ownership over and over again. If you're tired about it and you don't want to hear me talk about it anymore, you're more than welcome to leave the chat now, because we're going to talk about that a little bit. But if you haven't heard about it, allow me to introduce you to the cult. No, so it's having, in times like this, having a mechanism that you evaluate the situations in front of you and make decisions is essentially critical. It is super essential to the success of your operation. Making it through this type of crisis, there are a lot of businesses that are not going to survive this crisis that we're going through. It's just, you look at the economic data, they are shutting down. My brother's company in Texas shut down last week, laid off everybody. Their business disappeared overnight. Literally, as soon as the first quarantine started to hit, their business dried up and was gone. And it's a $6 million a year company. So whether they'll be able to come back, who knows? There are steps you certainly need to take as a leadership element right now to ensure the survival of your farm, of your business, and even to thrive through this type of crisis. And that's where, in the Instagram post, I talked about the 4 laws of combat that come from the book Extreme Ownership. If you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, it's a great book to pick up and read, or an audiobook, or you can find it on YouTube. Jocko is everywhere. But they have 4 very simple laws of combat that they used. And, my background is in the Marine Corps, so this worked very well for me to hear. Military guys have a kind of a, maybe you call it a simplistic way of communicating with each other, but it works for us, so let us have our thing. And these 4 laws of combat are cover and move. So are you covering each other as a team? And what that means is one person is carrying the load, or, in a military term, engaging with a target, while the other elements of the team move to a better position. And so that can apply in your business, that what are you doing as an owner or as a leader to cover for the team that's working for you? So either that's an employee or your interns or subcontractors, however you have it set up. Maybe it's just you, but what steps are you taking to cover their needs in this time? They may need to go take care of other business and so on. But also, what are we doing as a industry to help cover and move for each other? There are farms experiencing huge surpluses right now because their market dried up and went away. There are farms experiencing big shortages because they are selling out. And so it's reaching out to those other producers if you are oversupplied or undersupplied, and just saying, hey, do you have a way to cover me in this? Or, hey, can you help me move this product? And as a team, we can accomplish more than just a bunch of us running around as a bunch of yahoos. The second principle is simple. So certainly in a crisis situation, you want to keep processes as simple as possible. This isn't the time for complication and rolling out a bunch of new stuff, new procedures, rolling out your new new inventory management software, or something that your team now has to learn a new product. Especially for the next couple of weeks, keeping it very simple. That, hey, this is what we got to do to accomplish this goal. You do this, you do that, and just keep it simple. The third one is decentralized command. And so that is, we talked a little about earlier, having redundancy built into your team, but also having those people who can do your job. So you as the owner, or if you're in leadership, you do not have to do, and you should not do, everything that there is to do inside the operation. Build that team around you that could carry on should you get ill, or they can backfill each other if they get locked up in a quarantine. That type of stuff is going to be out of your hands, out of our hands. And so having a system of decentralized command where you are trusting those people in your operation for specific things, you're giving them a key area of responsibility is another term that's used, and then you are giving them the authority and responsibility to make decisions in that area. There we go. All right, sorry about that if you were on YouTube and you're back now. For there with decentralized command, but prioritize and execute is stepping back. Jocko talks about this in the book, and Leif in their podcasts and stuff, is if you are engaged in the heat of battle, or the everyday grind as a leader, you will not have the ability to make the correct decisions you need in the immediate environment. And so you need to be able to step back for a minute and look around and make a call, is what Leif says. And you do that through this process of, this needs to happen, then this needs to happen, and this needs to happen. You are weighing it on your list, and then you're just attacking the first thing. Tackle the first one that needs to be done, then move to the second one, move to the third one, and so on and so on and so on. So enough on that. If you've read the book, those are some great principles to use, especially in a situation like we're going through, where more than likely, if you're direct to retail, your demand has gone through the roof, and so some people are dealing with the bottom just dropped out. Same principles apply. You have to figure out what to do, who on your team to do it, keep processes simple, and cover and move for each other. So whether you are in expansion or contraction in this type of situation, and really in most situations, having these principles will help guide you through, bring clarity to your business, clarity to your decision-making processes as a leader, so you can stand back and make the decisions that will lead to your success. So that's all I've got for you guys right now. Check chat over here one more time. All right, Brad, catch you later. Money Pit Homestead, hello. All right. Certainly feel free to throw questions on. I'll check them later. Shoot me a DM if there's something going on with your farm. I might be able to help you, maybe not, but I'll be more than happy to listen to what you got to say and offer a few remarks. And I've got to go out and do some chores right now. I've got a few pigs requiring attention. So we'll see you guys around. And yeah, till next time, stay salty and get after it. Probably do a few more of these, do these a lot more frequently here as we're kind of working through a new environment for all of us. As a mentor of mine told me the other day, this guy has managed insane amounts of money in real estate. We sat down and had a meeting, and he was like, this is new territory for all of us. So buckle up, boys and girls. We are in for a wild ride here for the foreseeable future, but that doesn't mean we need to fear. Lean into it and seize the opportunity. All right, we'll catch you guys later. Out. Catch you later, YouTube.